G'day. This week it's a trip up to Mount Buffalo. That's a great trip, pretty windy road. Halfway up, or some of the way up, there is a waterfall there, spectacular. It's called Lady Bath's Falls. However, even though I took the path, I never actually saw any other sign saying it. That was called Eurobin, so if you do it, be aware. Absolutely beautiful. I did notice also going up the hill, there was quite a handful of guys on their cycles, push bikes, riding up the hill, training and getting fit and all that sort of stuff. And in fact, at the top, just before I headed up to the Horne, I met a guy, father and son. Son's just preparing to go over to Italy to represent Australia. So that's a big time hill. Another waterfall was Paradise Falls. However, that I just had a little bit of a trickle. And the last thing I want to talk about on this video is Ned Kelly. So let's go. This area is called Dingo Dell. Just past Cresta Valley, the road goes to gravel. Now I'm now basically headed for the Horne. I'm well over halfway up to the Horne, which is sort of the top of Mount Buffalo. Go Dingo Dell, and then it becomes a gravel road, and it's a bit of a... I wouldn't like to be coming up in a sedan, but it's doable. I'm up in a four-wheel drive. Now, I'm doing a lot of the filming here because I'm sure this looks like there's a lot of people up there, so I don't want to get caught up in the crowd. The view, well... It's like anything, you know, what I'm showing you on video is probably maybe 10% of what you're really going to see. So I'll try and give you my best image of it, but it is pretty spectacular. The walk up's not too bad. Again, like all walks, there's parts that'll be a challenge if you've got dodgy hips or lower back or problems like that, so keep it in mind. You might want to walk up a little section and just see whether that's your cup of tea. Oh, listen to me puff and pant. I'll show you a little bit around. So I'm up at a place called the Horne. Now there's two theories. One theory is from a distance it looks like a bull's horn or something like that. I might be making this up. And the other one is a European once come up here, and from a distance he thought it looked a little bit like the Matterhorn. So obviously he was suffering from something. Anyway, they're the two theories. It's really quite high up, got an unbelievable view. Now just over my shoulder is Cresta, and before that is Dingo Dell. And during the winter ski season, they'll close off that road. And the only way to get up here or up in this area is you'll have to come up doing cross-country skiing. But either which way, if you can get up in the summer or in the winter, that's well worth it. I'm standing in front of the sign for Paradise Falls. Now this is about an hour and a half from where I'm camped, and I'm camped just near Myrtleford. The road out all the way is great. However, about 4 kilometres before this, what happens is the road really goes to rack and ruin basically. So if you're going to drive out with a normal car, you want to be aware of that. And probably the last, between 3 and 5, I'm not sure, 3 and 5 kilometres, where it really goes bad, then you might think, if you've got a nice car and it's not four-wheel drive, just to leave it parked on the side of the road and walk the distance. Probably not a great idea to walk out and have a look at it this time of the year, because this time of the year it's the end of summer and we're looking at sort of mid-February. And in all fairness, I mean, you can't expect a waterfall to be absolutely magnificent with all the gushing water all the time. When I got down there, it was only 500 metres down, but when I got down there, there wouldn't have been enough water coming over the hill to fill a kettle to make a cup of tea. So that's how little water there is. But as I say, it's summer. Probably, so it's February, probably a great time to come would be, I don't know, April to June. The water would be gushing. Might be a bit yucky to get up here with the road. But as I say, four-wheel drive, yeah, you come up. And again, maybe the road is in the condition it's like, because I can't imagine how they get graders in here, because there's 2 narrow bridges. And realistically, there wasn't, on the narrow bridge getting across, I was lucky to get the car across. I mean, there was a bit of room, but to get a big grader, I don't know how they get across. That's probably why it's in somewhat poor condition at the moment. But would I recommend Paradise Falls? Absolutely. Check it out. Good morning, top of the morning to you. I'm out four-wheel driving and I've been on the road about an hour and a half, basically climbing up towards Mt Feathertop. Now, the road's changed in conditions a fair bit. I think I've did 3 river crossings, and the road really hasn't got much skinnier because it couldn't get much skinnier. Now, it started off as a basic track, and then it turned into another kind of track, and now it's a what they call a fire trail. And it is suggested that logging trucks come through here, and to be honest, I don't know where we would go if we met each other. So it's probably this deep in. I don't need to go to the absolute end. Yeah, part of the road has been a bit of a challenge, and I've just passed a massive, I mean like this big tree that's fallen across the track. And obviously someone does come here occasionally because they've cut the tree out the road so you can drive through. But certainly if I had met that anywhere, then the road and my driving would have stopped immediately. Now, it's pretty quiet out here. Occasionally you'll hear a plane going overhead, but that's about it. And some blowflies, Australia, and some native birds, which is quite nice. Not keen to meet those big logging trucks anywhere. This is the little grassy area at Brown Brothers. If you didn't want to walk in from the camping ground, you can actually drive all the way in. I'm now crossing over Stringy Bark Creek, and if you turn left there's lots of signs just to Stringy Bark Creek, but it's actually the whole Kelly scenario just up here. There it is on the left hand side. So if you pass the toilet on the right hand side, you've probably gone a little bit too far. Ample parking, and the signage is not bad. Not great, but not bad. This area here is Stringy Bark Campground, and to get to the Ned and Dan Kelly bit, you just got to walk down this path. Walk down, you'll see your first sign. It just says no camping. It doesn't say anything about where you're going, which is a bit frustrating. So that's what I'm telling you. Walk down this path. There's kind of 2 tracks. You veer right, you follow all the timber work down with the handrail. Keep walking down this way. Stringy Bark Creek, why is that a place I've gone to? Well, there was a shooting there. The Kelly gang, Ned and Dan, went out seeking these policemen, which they knew they were camped there. They went in there and there was 3 policemen. They shot 2 of them. One of them managed to get away, but not enough. And in all the panic and all the smoke and everything, the policeman jumped on his horse and took off the wrong way through really rough bush, and Dan and Ned ended up catching up with him and killed him. Now, why did all this happen? Well, I can't really explain exactly, but I can tell you that Ned Kelly, when he was 16, he went to jail for stealing a horse. And that jail, when he was in there, it was hard labour. He come out of there, and then there was 3 families in the high country were all doing the same thing. And we were in Victoria. What they would do is they would steal cattle and horses, then they would herd them across the Murray River into New South Wales. New South Wales police would find the cows and horses roaming, so they would, take them into custody. And with that, they couldn't look after them for a long period of time. So what they did was they ended up auctioning them off. And when they auctioned them, they would just take any amount of money they could get, which is usually pretty poor amount of money in the auction. Meanwhile, who should arrive but the 3 families, and they would actually turn up the auction. So the Kelly gang would buy back those stolen cattle and horses. When now they've got the receipts, they would then take them back to Victoria, here in the high country, and anybody came up and accused them for stealing the cows or horses, they would say, no, I've got a receipt. I paid the money, I've got a receipt from the government. So the police were getting pretty jack of all that sort of stuff. Now, meanwhile, in 1878, the Kelly gang rode into town and robbed the bank of £2,000 and some gold and jewellery. So they're starting to get a bit of a history. And meanwhile, amongst all that period of time, Ned Kelly actually was accused of assaulting a policeman. That's why the police were in Stringy Bark looking for Ned. But Ned decided to go in and kill them anyway. Okay, I want you to fire up your imagination. So I'm definitely in the right area, just to let you know. Now, this many years after the event, no one really knows exactly where it was. They certainly know where Stringy Bark Creek is, that's there. And they have an idea of where the guys ran when they were being attacked. And they have an idea where the police camp was. So basically, let's just assume that it's all a given. Now, behind me here is where the police camp was. And the police camp, there was the 3 policemen. And Dan Kelly and Ned Kelly arrived in the evening of Saturday the 26th of October in 1878. And as soon as they got here, they started shooting. Now, those days when the guns were shot, there'd be smoke and it was just mayhem, and obviously got a smoky fire as well. All hell broke loose, and the 2 Kellys managed to kill 2 of the policemen. And then what happened was one of the policemen jumped on his horse and took off in the bush. And because there's so much smoke and pandemonium and everything has all gone crazy, unfortunately for him, he headed off in the opposite direction that he should have gone. If he had gone the other way, he probably would have got away okay. And there was no tracks, so basically he just went straight into the scrub or into the bush. When he was going in that bush, it was like thick undergrowth, and he did a fair bit of damage to himself in bruises and cuts and all sorts of things. And eventually the 2 Kellys managed to trace where he was, and then they killed him out there. Now, with that killing out there was, with the gunshots and all that, there was actually a bullet that had nicked one of the trees. And so what they did, after all the event and after the Kellys had been processed through the legal system, etc., the locals decided they wanted to have some sort of a recognition of where it all went down. So, and so a K was written on, that was called the Kelly tree, and that was out there. Now, there was that tree, and then there was also a tree here called the police tree. And what's happened over the years, first of all, the original tree here for the police tree, it was felled when they were doing all the forestry and cutting down all the trees. That was one of them they chopped down. So they then found another one, and they let it get on with it. And eventually there was 3 of them. One of them rotted because of the little ants, the termites. That one rotted it away. They had all sorts of little mini dramas about it. And then eventually the owner of this area, of a property around this area, he went and nominated a tree, which what's what I'm showing you now. It's got the big fork in it, and he's saying, look, I'm going to make that there because it looks like it's still going to keep living and all that. And when he marked on that tree, after the tree grew 50 years later, then you can't see any of the inscribing. So a whole history just on the tree. But yeah, this is all where it happened. And now I'm not saying right or wrong about the whole Kelly incident, but certainly 2 policemen were killed right here, and then another one about quarter of a mile or about 500 metres out that way. So they were all kind of killed in this area. Here's a spoiler alert, so leave the room, fast forward the video, block your ears, whatever it takes. Ned Kelly was caught, and November the 11th, 1880, they hanged him. Ned Kelly, whew, there's a lot involved in that. That's a real discussion point. Some of the people I met out on the track, they've got real strong opinions either side. And how good were those waterfalls? Fantastic. Now next week I'll be taking you to another part of the high country, and I will take you to Craig's Hut. Whoa, that's magnificent. And in a couple of weeks they've got some absolutely incredibly breaking news that, well, I mustn't go on. Now if you found the video useful, helpful and or entertaining, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, any time would be great. And if you think the video is worth sharing, that would be greatly appreciated. Till next time, this is Paul Wheel Drive, signing off.